Hey, welcome back to the Disney Plus Everyday Challenge, and today we have Journey to the Center of the Earth. It's from 1959. This is a 2 hour and 9 minute movie. Yeah, 2 hour 9 minute movie. That based on the story by Jules Verne, and it is kind of a big epic adventure with tons of special effects that honestly fairly impressive for 1959. It's yeah, sure, yeah. There was all sorts of other stuff going on for decades throughout the 20th century. But the 20th century, obviously, was the era of the evolution of film. And well, it was invented before, but the 20th century. But still, it's the evolution and the building of so much of what we take for granted today. We expect that everything looks 100% real, and even if we know it's not, we go, well, you know what, that looked pretty cool. Apparently, Vin Diesel can jump a car off a cliff and be captured by a magnet and fly across. Oh, just fly. We just go. We buy that for some reason. In 1959, to adapt an ambitious story from Jules Verne, who is a master of these big thematic science fiction type stories, adventures, and everything else. For the time machine, time machine, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, and all this stuff. So yeah, it's it's ambitious in 1959 to do this. It's one thing to do like the Swiss Family Robinson, which to a certain degree is we got to put people on an island. You just go to Hawaii, shoot it, make a treehouse, and maybe do some scary ships, capsizing ship kind of action. But this is exploring a world that is completely conjecture for the most part. Yes, there is bits of science peppered throughout that was reflective of the era in which Jules wrote this type of thing. I don't know if it really made any changes or anything to adapt it to film, how detailed it was. I have not read Jules Verne's Journey to the Center of the Earth. Sorry. Um, but yeah, I only found out yesterday that I'd be watching this, and so I really did not prepare to read a novel. Or however long it is. But anyway, we get James Mason as a curmudgeony Saint Sir Oliver. He's a professor, I guess, and a scientist who's found some inklings that somebody has made it to the center of the earth and has sent back a message, and he's going to follow that man's path. And he's not the only one trying to make that happen. Along the way, he, of course, takes on. He's planning to do this by himself for the most part until other people go, you know what, I think I'll go with you. Like Pat Boone, a very young Pat Boone. If you ever wanted to see Pat Boone bare chested and smooth as a baby, this is your chance, ladies and gents. This is your movie. You ever want to see a naked Pat Boone cover himself with a sheep? Here's your chance to hide himself from nuns. Spoilers, I know, but the movie's been around for 80 years. So, wait, 40, 60 years. 60 years. Yeah, 62 years. So, anyway, Pat Boone is the young guy in this film, and James Mason is the leader of this expedition. Along the way, they acquire a woman, an Icelandic muscle man who doesn't speak a word of English, and a duck. And, of course, they run across the other people who are attempting to beat them to these wonderful discoveries at the center of the earth. So, as far as I know, wonderful. It's deadly at every turn. This is a movie that, yeah, based on, there's a 2008 version with, why can't I say his name? But yeah, if you know what I'm talking about, you know who it is. Anyway, Jerry? Not Jerry O'Connell. No, not Sliders. Anyway, if you you see modern films, like Jungle Cruise is coming out, and that's big, crazy action. All of it, which has been inspired by Indiana Jones, Raiders of the Lost Ark, and of course Indiana Jones and Raiders of the Lost Ark was inspired by this. There's a big rolling boulder at one point. There is um, a maniacal kind of bad guy, kind of looks like Alfred Molina, but it's not. Um, he's played by Thayer David. He's just try to look up a guy named Thayer David, and you'll be like, that is a creepy looking dude. Um, but by the way, the woman that joins the crew is Arlene Dahl. Her husband was going to try to make an expedition, but he was murdered before he could. So in order to get his equipment, Sir Oliver strikes a deal with her, and before he realizes that she's coming along. So we get the five of them: Sir Oliver, Pat Boone playing Alec. Uh, we have what you call it, Carla. Then we have what you call it, the Hans and Gertrude the duck, and they go through many different strata of the earth. Apparently, walking for months nonstop. Somehow, I don't think they understood just how deep the earth is, and realistically, the earth is not like what they've discovered. There's not a mushroom level. There's not a crystal level. It sounds like a video game, but it's yeah, it's just a fun adventure. It's speculative. It's just like if somebody was writing a book about traveling to another planet or whatever. This is planet traveling within the planet, and what would you discover there? Of course, there's no aliens, but there are giant lizards, and yeah, there's all sorts of things they run across along the way. They get separated, they get injured, there's all sorts of things that they go hungry because maybe somebody didn't pack enough food for the entire trip, thinking that you're gonna be traveling to the center of the earth for who knows how long. There might not be food down there. There's probably not air down there. So, but yeah, I'm not going to ruin everything you might find in this thing. This is probably I haven't seen the remake, but it more than likely differs in a number of ways. In fact, I imagine in a sense the great thing about the end of this movie, without spoiling anything, it kind of opens itself up to saying, there might be other adventures in the future, and it would be smart of that 2008 film to have made use of that final scene to say that other generations of scientists might be making that trip. So yeah, the special effects by today's standards are not good. Are not good. Giant, well, normal size like Gila monsters and lizards are used, and they're scaled up to make it look like they're big and humongous compared to these regular sized men. And that I hope they didn't harm them, because there's some scenes where they like throw spears at them, and they look bloody, and they actually look, you see when the spear goes into the lizard, and it just seems like that might have been painful. And there's one point where they cover one in lava, or it could have been just marinara sauce. I don't know. Um, it's just you know the special you do with what the special effects you have, and honestly, yeah, there's moments where you're just like, oh, that doesn't even look close to real. I could do better on my iPhone. Yeah, you probably could today, but you're looking at 1959 doing this 1958 or so. They didn't have iPhones back then. Believe it or not, there was a time before iPhones, kids. So yeah, I highly recommend this if you want to see some good classic special effects sci-fi cinema. It's not exactly as well paced as modern films. It's not as fast paced as modern adventure films, but it still has its own charm. One of the things that I have to make a comment on is the fact that Pat Boone and Sir Oliver are supposed to be Scottish, and at times Sir Oliver, I mean James, what you call it, why can't I say this? James Mason makes an somewhat of an effort to sound Scottish, well, a little bit. Whenever Pat Boone tries, which is not often himself, he no. So for the most part, there is no Scottish accent, but they're both supposed to be Scottish, and anytime they try, it's just painful. So there's plenty of humor in this, more than just adventure. Some wordplay, even some innuendo, and a little bit of innuendo in this. And of course, there's also the fact that Sir Oliver doesn't want a woman with him because they're just bothersome. They're a burden. Why would you take them? Because you're gonna have no privacy. You're not gonna do your womanly things, and you're just gonna be a pain in the butt the whole way, aren't you? And she's like, screw you, buddy. I can take care of myself. So feminism. So you'll find a little bit of misogyny in this throughout, but it is pretty well played off because she can handle herself pretty well in the face of everything that's going on. So yeah, I won't tell you everything, but I told you enough, hopefully, to whet your appetite. And like I said, I haven't seen this movie before, so if you haven't seen it either, take the time. It's on Disney Plus, obviously. Otherwise, we wouldn't be talking about it. Check it out. This is one of the 20th Century Fox things that came over, so it's not an original Disney film. So if you're only looking at Disney stuff, well, this is not it. But it's a great part of the acquisition of 20th Century Fox. So give it a shot. Let's pick tomorrow's episode.
175.
All right, 175. I always got to let her say her whole thing, even though I see the number there already. Yeah, okay. This is... I recently discovered, as I'm preparing for the end of the quarter, once we hit the end of June here, we're going to reset this whole thing with a whole new list with the last 3 months of episodes and movies and everything else that have been added to Disney Plus. And I've noticed that there's not just a full-length movie with this character, named after this character. There's also a short, much older short that the film is based on. We're watching the film. This is what we're seeing. Number 175, Ferdinand. The bull. So we're going back to, I think we're going back to Italy, just like after we saw Luca a couple days ago. But yeah, Ferdinand, the movie on the Disney Plus Everyday Challenge. I'll see you back here tomorrow with that.